Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rundown. This is episode number 25 today, September 19th. As always, I'm recording this on the evening of the 18th, so the tropical information may not be quite up to date, and neither will necessarily football. Let's begin with liturgy. Today, the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 26th Sunday, next Sunday. If you guys know how to count, we have St. Pius of Pietricana, St. Padre Pio on Thursday, St. Vincent de Paul next Monday, and St. Matthew this Tuesday. We also have several martyrs on Monday. So that's just a weird way. Didn't do that chronologically, but it's chronological on the screen. So, there you go if you're worried about the chronology there. Shaked up a few of my teams here. Moved Oregon up to the number 5 slot, in my opinion. But most of the top teams remaining the same. Florida only going down a little bit because they put up a pretty good show up against Alabama, gave them a run for their money. Alabama could fall to number 2, in my opinion, maybe. But that's kind of what we're watching at the moment. Ohio State, of course, getting a run for their money as well. Oklahoma getting a run for their money. Several good games this weekend. Penn State was a fantastic game against Auburn. Auburn probably deserves to still be ranked. And they might, depending on how the 3 games that are ongoing as I'm making this video right now. UCLA potentially going to lose. Ole Miss potentially going to lose. I think they're going to win. But Arizona State in trouble with BYU at the moment, which is currently ranked. So kind of just switch this out. Anyways, as always, I'll have an updated rankings pending, the results of those 3 football games down in the description sometime tomorrow, whenever I get around to it. Let's get into the weather. Post-tropical cyclone Odette could reform, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Tropical Depression 16 is expected to become Tropical Storm Peter later this week as it makes its way towards Bermuda. Invest 97L has a 70% chance of formation, and the next name on the list is Rose. There's a quick look at where those storms at. Again, 16 heading towards Bermuda. It's going to head just south of Newfoundland and then kind of wander around there for the next several days. If it wanders to the south where there's warmer water in the Gulf Stream, that's when it could potentially reform if it were to do so. Again, 16 going to be making its way towards Bermuda, so we're watching that very closely, and our Invest 97L also being watched. In Columbus, we're going to be in the mid-80s through Monday. We're going to have extremely wet weather in the middle of the week, mid-70s for the high on Tuesday, mid-60s for the high on Wednesday, and we're looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's certainly going to make the area not necessarily the greatest. I don't personally like wetness everywhere. Don't take that statement out of context. Anyways, morning lows are going to be around 50 degrees with highs in the lower 70s to round out the week in Columbus. In Norman, it's going to be hot on Monday, nearly 100 degrees, but it's going to get cool later in the week. We're going to be potentially some rain Tuesday morning, but we're going to be in the mid-50s for the morning, afternoons around 80s for the middle of the week, or around 80 for the middle of the week. We'll be up to the mid-80s and 60 in the mornings for the rest of the week as it slowly begins to warm back up to around where it's been with highs in the 90s. But for now, at least we get a little bit of break of the heat this week. It'll be very nice, very chilly in the morning. Those mid-50s will surprise us for sure. But it'll be a welcome cooler weather as we approach that. As for COVID-19, update 89 since the beginning of this stupid pandemic. As we see here, that's how the cases are going. Overall, a few states up, few states down. Montana, Wyoming up. West Virginia, Tennessee up. Places like Florida, Oklahoma are down. So that's notable. Death rate is up in almost every state, almost doubled in every state at that. A 10% increase occurred in 20 of the states. So quite the significant increase since last week in terms of deaths per capita. Hospitalizations luckily going down in many of the states, notably Florida and several other of the states throughout the union. Doing better. Again, West Virginia not doing too hot at the moment. We'll see that reflected here on the ICU as well. 16 people for every 100,000 person currently in the ICU at the moment. So again, not ideal situation, as most of this pandemic hasn't been an ideal situation. But that's kind of just where we're at in terms of the numbers at the moment. Daily vaccinations notably down in Ohio, which is somewhat unfortunate. We're doing somewhat decent across the southern United States, which we know has been lagging in vaccinations for much of the time that vaccinations have been available. But nonetheless, we're going to continue to take a look at those states because, they're the ones that really need to improve, as we see the southern states are not as dark green as, say, those states in the Northeast or along the West Coast, where vaccination rates with at least one dose are nearing 3/4 of the population, if not at least 70%, and the fully vaccinated rate above 60% in many of those states as well, whereas it's around 40% in some of those states down in the southeastern United States, as well as up in what do we call that area? It's not quite the Great Plains, near Montana. How about that? Geography. Anyways, last week, this was the infectivity vulnerability from the CDC across the United States. This is how it looks this week. Again, not anything too crazy of a change. Taking a look at these, but it looks like overall a bit worse this week. Remember, we had market improvement last week. So, we get what we get here. We're up to 93% of the population over age 65 with one dose of the vaccine. We finally crossed that 3/4 mark last week in terms of those over age 18. We'll cross the 3/4 mark of those over age 12 with one dose of the vaccine later this week. But across the board, including those under the age of 12, we still remain decently low, below 2/3 of the population. Nonetheless, we're doing very good, at least in my opinion, in terms of those vaccination percentage. CDC forecast infections continue to move down as we see that cone heading down, which is beautiful, and we'll head back to weekly infection rates, kind of like they were in February, not quite decreasing as significantly as they did then, but still decreasing and around the same rates that it was back in February and March, more like February itself. But anyways, that's kind of where we're at the moment. Hopefully that continues to go down. And we head back to where it was in June or July of this year, maybe if we're really lucky, where it was at in February of 2020, at the very beginning of this pandemic. In the U.S. now, we're at 9.69 million current cases. The death toll reached 1 in every 500 people earlier this week, which is kind of wild. Our top 10 states remain the same from last week. But again, they're starting to mellow out a little bit, which is good news worldwide. Russia now in the top 3. France is now no longer on the top 10, with Malaysia taking that spot in 219,000 current cases. But all those other countries are all decreasing in terms of the number of active cases. Again, the United States, United Kingdom, Russia are all increasing at the moment as the worldwide death toll makes its way towards 5 million, which is absolutely wild. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for now. Didn't change the date on the top, but I really don't care. Have a good one. See you guys next time. Chris, 16 and Father, Catholic Media.